Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing fantastic. Today, it is that time again to talk about what books I read the previous month. And we're going to be talking about my February reads for 2026. I cannot believe it's already March. Where's the time going? And why is it going so quickly? Like, genuinely, I don't know what's going on. But I'm extremely excited because we have 6 books to talk about, and we had some good stuff for February. We had some not so great stuff, so I'm very excited to talk about it. And again, take these very lightly. Take what I have to say very lightly. These were my experiences with the book. I'm not saying that you won't like them, but this is how I felt. This is my thoughts, my feels. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so I actually have this time, because I feel like last time I forgot like what I wanted to say. I just, as I finished each book, I wrote down like little plot points. So I might read these just to make sure I got what I wanted to say said. So the first book that we read and finished for February, which I think I briefly mentioned in January, if I'm not mistaken, is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Now, this was a book club book that we read, and we ended up starting it in January and then finishing it in February. This book changed my life. That is not an overstatement. It genuinely changed how I think about things. It revealed so much to me. Okay, so I'm just going to read the blurb of Da Vinci Code because I feel like when I try to describe what the book is about, I feel like I do a terrible job. So, while in Paris on business, Harvard symbologist Robert Langdon receives an urgent late-night phone call. The elderly curator of the Louvre has been murdered inside the museum. Near the body, police have found a baffling cipher. While working to solve the enigmatic riddle, Langdon is stunned to discover it leads to a trail of clues hidden in the works of Da Vinci, clues visible for all to see, yet ingeniously disguised by the painter. Langdon joins forces with a gifted French cryptologist Sophie Neveu and learns the late curator was involved in the Priory of Sion, an actual secret society whose members included Sir Isaac Newton, Botticelli, Victor Hugo, and Da Vinci, among others. In a breathless race through Paris, London, and beyond, Langdon and Nouveau match wits with a faceless power broker who seems to anticipate their every move. Unless Langdon and Nouveau can decipher the labyrinthine puzzle in time, the Priory's ancient secret and an explosive historical truth will be lost forever. It is fantastic. This book is actually part of, I don't think it's a series, but it's an interconnected series where you follow Robert Langdon throughout the whole series. I think there's like 4 or 5 books, and each one he's pretty much revealing and discussing different myths and tales. Like, I think one of the books is about the Illuminati. Like, every book discusses and reveals different things. So this one was about the Da Vinci Code and the secret society. First off, I want to say, when I read this book, I didn't know what to expect. Actually, my mom had read this book a long time ago, and when we were at the store, we were at Barnes & Noble's, and Dan Brown had come out with his newest book. My mom was like, you have to read The Da Vinci Code. Like, it's so good. And so she was like, why don't you request it for book club? And I was like, okay. So I requested it for book club, and then we read it, and I fell in love with the writing. It is so well done. Dan Brown's writing, it grips you, the descriptions of things. It was like I'm back in France. Like, I had visited France when I was 16. So, and I've been to the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower and all that. And so his descriptions of everything, it made me feel like, oh my God, I'm back in France when I was there when I was 16 and doing all this stuff. And the way he describes the museum and the paintings and the streets of France and all this stuff, it was like, wow, like I can picture myself being there again. And it was so incredibly done. Also, what I loved is that you learn so much, and he puts facts about like what he's researched into the secret society and the message in the book, which if you read it, you'd understand. He puts the facts in it, not as like side plot or not as additions to things. It's part of the story, and it helps progress the story. And it never feels like, I'm in one page, I'm in the book and I'm in the plot and I'm in the fiction of it all. And then now I'm in the textbook version and I'm just getting facts about what he's researched. Like, it is so incredibly well entwined with the plot and what Robert Langdon is going through. But you're also learning real life things about what he's researched and the secret society and things about the Mona Lisa and Da Vinci. And it was incredible. I've never had such a great time reading a book like that. Like, it was so great. It was so well written. I also cared a lot about the characters as well. Like, the characters aren't just like there to be there. Like, you care about Robert, you care about Nouveau, you care about them so much and you want them to succeed in their adventure. So well done. I will say it did kind of drag at the end though. Like, the after like things have been revealed and like he's been on the adventure for a while, I would say the last like 100 pages kind of gets dragged. Like, the story's a little long, but everything before that is incredible and you still want to know what happens. And I love also that the epilogue is a continuation of the story. Like, it's not just like extra stuff like this is what happens to him in 15 years down the line. Like, no, it continues the current story, which is awesome. I still think about it today and I am still shocked about how much I didn't know about the world and like the secret society and all that stuff. It makes you question like religion and, you know, things that you thought you knew about this world. Like, it's just so hard to describe. I would definitely recommend you read it. I'm not a historical fiction girly. I am not someone who ever picks up historical fiction. But this was written so well that it felt like mystery, adventure, thriller, with also incorporating the historical fiction of it all. It was incredibly done. So many twists and turns, so many interesting characters and personalities, and I loved the writing. The writing was so gripping. I've heard that the other books in this interconnected world aren't as great as Da Vinci Code. That's why I went straight into Da Vinci. But would I be intrigued to pick up another book from that? Yes, I would. Will I do it anytime soon? Probably not. But I've heard Dan Brown is incredible, so highly would recommend this book if you seem like you're interested in that, or maybe you want to learn something like about the secret societies and stuff like that. Give it a try. I loved it. It was so great. And again, like, coming from someone who has never really been interested in historical fiction like that, I don't even know if it's considered historical fiction. Like, I'm just saying that, but I know it's like general fiction, or like, I'm pretty sure it's kind of a mystery. I'm sorry. It's a mystery book, but there is like fiction and you learn stuff. So anyway, Da Vinci Code, which perfect start to the month, by the way. Perfect way to start February with a 5-star book, and it ended up being my book of the month. So fantastic, incredible. And I ended up giving it 5 stars, as you probably could have guessed. But yeah, super happy I read that. And yeah, Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Alrighty, so the next book of February that I read was Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. Now, I am a huge fan of Jennette McCurdy, not only in her acting days, but also as a writer. Her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, was incredible. It was the book that got me back into reading as an adult. So I loved that book, and I talked about it, I think, in one of my previous videos on this channel. So I was really excited that she was coming out with, it's technically like her debut novel because it's fiction. So I was extremely excited to read it, and I got my hands on it and I read it. And unfortunately for me, I was quite disappointed with it. I'm going to read the blurb of it again so I can do it justice. Waldo is ravenous, horny, blunt, naive, wise, impulsive, lonely, angry, forceful, hurting, perceptive, endlessly wanting. And the thing she wants most of all, Mr. Corgi, her creative writing teacher, with the wife and the kid and the mortgage and the bills, with the dead dreams and the atrophied looks and the growing paunch. She doesn't know why she wants him. Is it his passion, his life experience, the fact that he knows books and films and things that she doesn't? Or is it purer than that, rooted in their unlikely connection, their kindred spirits, the familiar filter with which they each take in the world around them? Or perhaps is it just enough that he sees her when no one else does? Startlingly perceptive, mordingly funny, and keenly poignant, Half His Age is a rich character study of a yearning 17-year-old who disregards all obstacles or attempts to overcome them in her effort to be seen, to be desired, to be loved. So, I was extremely excited about this, like I said. Age gap relationship, but definitely illegal. And, okay, where do I start with this? I think the idea of the book was phenomenal. I think the idea of like a 17-year-old pining after their teacher and that relationship and how that would work out, I think it's a great plot starter, and I think it's a great concept for a book. I think what fell short for me was the fact that she didn't give me anything new. I feel like when you take an idea like this and you want to write about an underage relationship or like a minor relationship with someone that's older, I feel like you need to give it something new, give the relationship a twist, give the story something different. Maybe not let the characters make the usual decisions that you think a 17-year-old would do or an adult man would do. And I feel like the relationship in the story was just so predictable, and everything that happened in the book are things that like I would have guessed and things that probably happen over and over and over again, which I guess that's the point, but I wish it was something different. I wish she offered something new to the trope and to the idea. So that was the first thing, was that just, it was a very predictable story. It was very like cookie cutter kind of vibe. I feel like that was one of the major disappointments for me, was just the plot being very predictable and just not something exciting and new. And I wrote that I loved the idea and I hated the execution, which I think sums up pretty much what I was saying. But McCurdy's writing is so funny and so real. I feel like the way she described a 17-year-old girl, and like the way she described like getting ready for a date and getting your period and having sexual experiences with guys, like it was just such like it was so funny and so like real, and I was like, oh my god, like that is hilarious, and I understand it completely. Very relatable, and also her writing's very straightforward. There's no ambiguity with how she writes. Like she writes very straightforward, very blunt, and what you read is what you get, kind of thing. Like there's no mystery there. She doesn't really leave you room to think or like to imagine. It's very like straightforward, and this is how it is. And also, when I finished the book, I remember closing it and being like, what am I supposed to take away from this story? I feel like we were missing the main idea or the main message. I feel like it was kind of all over the place. Because the ending was predictable and because it was the ending was kind of not resolved in like a traditional way. I feel like it was left open but not open. It was just kind of weirdly done. I don't know. And I remember closing it and be like, how am I supposed to feel after reading this? What is the message? What am I supposed to get behind? Am I supposed to root for people like this? Am I not supposed to root for people? Am I supposed to care about her? Am I not supposed to care? Like, it was just very confusing for me, and I wish there was a more clear message or a clear takeaway. Obviously, dating a minor and becoming involved with a minor, especially your student, is disgusting and dishonorable, but I don't know. I felt like there was maybe another message she was trying to convey, but I couldn't understand it. I don't know. I felt like the message of the story was a little all over the place for me personally. Main character, why am I forgetting her name already? See, like, this is the thing. She has a weird name. Waldo. The main character, Waldo, she was slightly annoying and childish throughout the book, but she's also 17. Like, I feel like you have to remember that she's supposed to be written kind of immaturely, because she's a child pretty much the whole book. So I think a lot of people, I remember reading comments and people were saying that like, oh, Waldo is so annoying, but like she's a typical teenage girl. Like, I felt like that was fine for me, but like, was she a little annoying in the book? Sure. Also at the end, spoiler if you don't want to know this, but Mr. Corgi, the teacher, at the end of the book, like when they finally become a couple, he becomes very submissive of her, like submissive towards her, and like begs for her attention and begs for her love and all that. And I think like the transition of that was a little weird for me, and it felt not real, and I felt like, why would he become so beggy with her, like, and very submissive with her? It just didn't seem like a good character transition. I don't know. I think overall, I like the idea of it. I wish I just wish it was written better, and I wish the idea was different. I ended up giving it a 2 stars, which I gave it a 2 because I did like the writing, and the writing, I do love her writing, and I like the idea. So I gave it a 2. I don't think I would read this again. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it needed a couple more editing reruns, and maybe somebody just to tell her, like, what is the message behind this? Like, I know, not like, listen, not every book needs to have this like grand, like mind-blowing, this is what you learn from it, and oh my god, that was crazy. Like, no, like some books are just meant to tell stories, and that's totally fine. And you can take away what you want to take away from every book you read. But for me, I read a story and I felt like there was a message there, and I just didn't understand what that message was supposed to be. I think it needed a more concrete direction, and I was just overall disappointed with it. If you want to give it a try, I would recommend you give it a try because her writing is great. But I think story-wise, not my favorite. So I was so sad to give it a 2, but I'm sure that her writing will get so much better the more she writes, and I'm excited to see what else she's going to release. I'm obviously going to keep reading all the books that she ever comes out with because I do love her, but this one just didn't do it for me. So 2 stars for half his age. Yeah. So the next book I read was Heartless Sky and the Zodiac Academy, and this was the 7th book, I believe. I just want to understand, when will these characters ever experience peace and love and kumbaya? I root for these characters so much, and every freaking book, they suffer. All the time. Like, all the time. Like, there's not 1 second of peace for anybody. Everyone's catching strays in this book. But anyway, it was very, very, very good. I can't really say what this book is about too much because, again, it's like the 7th book in a series, so it's the same characters, and there's still more crazy drama that happens. Loved that we got to see Seth and Caleb's story more. I feel like they were kind of a later couple to develop in the series, and I do love Caleb so much. Like, I love him I feel like I've grown to love him more, that I get to know him more, and I feel like he's developed as a character. I do love Seth as well. So I was really happy that we got to see their relationship more because I do love them. Darius, that man never fails me. Like, Darius, the acts of love in this book, oh my god, like, just the way he gets her the coffee every time and goes on the runs with her every time, like, it's just, Darius, so good and so yummy. Like, he's so yummy. And Tori, oh my god, I am so glad that Tori has a character development. She's gotten more mature. She has become more level-headed. I can tolerate her more, which is fantastic. I've quickly become a Tori stan. She's less infuriating. I'm liking Tori more. I really am. Darcy and Orion, I don't care for them at all. Like, not that I don't like them as characters, but I feel like they just don't make sense together, and I feel like Darcy should have, like, either had a new love interest, or she should have just been by herself, because I think she deserves way better than Orion, but that's just me. Sorry, but don't really care about them, but, yeah. Also, why are we getting, like, in this book I think was the first book that we're getting Darius's dad's point of view. So, like, throughout the books, every chapter is a different point of view from a different character, and we're finally getting Lionel's. And I'm like, why are we getting Lionel's point of view? Like, screw him. I don't want his point of view. I don't care about him. Anyway, I ended up giving it a 3 star, I believe, but I'm going to double check that because I don't want to give you the wrong information. Yeah, Ended up giving it a 3-star. Again, I think like I just need the characters to be a little bit more happy and for it to not be so predictable. I think the writing formula has been the same for the past 7 books, and I think it needs to change a little bit. And also I didn't love the Lionel point of view. Like, I don't care about him. And also, like, we got the point of views of like the other side characters I just don't care about. Like, I don't care about them that much. But 3-star was still very entertaining. I'm very invested in the series, like I keep saying. So yeah, Heartless Sky. That was the next book we read. The next book that we read was Immortal Dark, and I'm going to read the plot of that one as well, so we get an idea. The Cruel Prince meets Ninth House in this dangerously romantic dark academia fantasy, where a lost heiress must infiltrate an arcane society and live with the vampire she suspects killed her family and kidnapped her sister. It began long before my time, but something has always haunted our family. Orphaned heiress Kadan Edain grew up far from the arcane society she was born into, where human bloodlines gain power through vampire companionship. When her sister June disappears, Kadan is convinced a vampire stole her, the very vampire bound to their family, the cruel yet captivating Susenyo Sagad. To find June, Kadan must infiltrate the elite Uxley University, where students study to ensure peaceful coexistence between humans and vampires and inherit their family legacies. Kadan must survive living with Susenyos, even as he does everything he can to drive her away. It doesn't matter that Susenyos' wickedness speaks to Kadan's own violent nature and tempts her to surrender to her life of darkness. She must find her sister and kill Susenyos at all costs. When a murder mirroring June's disappearance shakes Uxley, Kadan sinks further into the ruthless underworld of vampires, risking her very soul. Then there she discovers a centuries-old threat, and June could be at the center of it. To save her sister, Kadan must bring Uxley to its knees and either break free from the horrors of her own actions or embrace the dark entanglements of love and the blood it requires. Yeah. Fantasy, romance. She's trying to find out what happened to her sister. It was such a great book. I loved the plot. I was very intrigued to see what happens. I think it was a little too long for me. I think the writing, the story dragged out a little bit for me. Didn't really care about the side characters that much. I was really invested in Kadan and June and Susenyos for the most part because those are the main characters. I feel like there was a lot of side characters and I didn't care for any single one of them. Like, she befriends a lot of people at the school and all that. Wasn't really my vibe. Also, this book took me a long time to get through. Not that it was a hard read, but I feel like there's so many different words and I had to understand the world building and there's so many different rules and all that. It took me a little bit longer to kind of just understand what was going on in the book. I didn't know this book was a YA while I was reading it, and I kept reading it. I was like, and then I found out it was a YA, and I was like, this was a YA? Like, you think a 14-year-old can read this? Like, I don't know about that. The ending seemed unnecessary for me, and I felt like it just kind of tried to make the story crazier, and it was just like, I feel like the ending, now that I'm remembering it, the ending was, she wrote the ending that way, I feel like, to set up for another book. So I feel like she already kind of knew that there was going to be another book after this one. So the ending didn't really make sense to me, and I felt like it was unnecessary. But overall, it was a great book. It was a great fantasy book. If you're into like a book about going to like a girl finding her sister's history and her discovering her family secrets, and if you like a kind of fantasy element to it, romance, slow burn, kind of like enemies to lovers kind of vibe, academia, because I'm assuming it's dark academia. I liked it. It was good. It was a good time, but I think there was like little things about the book that weren't my favorite, so I ended up giving it a 3-star as well. But it was a very good time, and I definitely want to read the second book. I'm waiting for it to come out in paperback. So, yeah, I had a fun time with it. I liked Kadan as a character. I feel like she was written well, and I feel like the decisions she was making made sense, and I was not like annoyed with her that much. And I felt like her reasonings for not trusting people made sense, and I liked that. So yeah, Immortal Dark, 3 stars. Alrighty, so after Immortal Dark, I was in a romance mood, and I was like, let me read something quick, fast-paced, something I know I'm gonna love. And so I picked up Common Goal, and this one is about New York Admirals goalie Eric. And he never thought his friends with benefits arrangement with much younger Kyle would leave them both wanting more. Veteran goaltender Eric Bennett has faced down some of the toughest shooters on the ice, but nothing prepared him for his latest challenge, life after hockey. It's time to make some big changes, starting with finally dating men for the first time. Graduate student Kyle Swift moved to New York nursing a broken heart. He'd sworn to find someone his own age to crush on for once, until he meets a gorgeous, distinguished Silver Fox hockey player. Despite their intense physical attraction, Kyle has no intention of getting emotionally involved. He'll teach Eric a few tricks, but some mutually consensual fun, then walk away. Eric is more than happy to learn anything Kyle brings to the table, and Kyle never expected their friends with benefits arrangement to leave him wanting more. Happily ever after might be staring them in the face, but it won't happen if they're too stubborn to come clean about their feelings. Everything they both want is within reach. They just have to be brave enough to grab it. Perfect summary of the book. Fantastic book. Writing has gotten so much better. Rachel Reed, she ate, okay? Her writing is getting so much better within the books. I related to the characters for different reasons. I felt like the goalkeeper, was his name Eric? I love how I just read that and I'm forgetting names already. Eric, yes. I related to him a lot, like the things he was saying. Like there was this one part where he said, like, I don't like to drink alcohol and get drunk because I like to have control over my feelings and I like to have control over my body. And I was like, gagged. I was like, yes, Eric, clock it. Yes, I understand that completely. Love that. Kyle, the bartender in the story, he is actually from the first book, Game Changers. He, I think, was introduced slightly in the first book, and he's the bartender at the main bar that they go to in that one. So we got a little bit of him before, and I feel like their backstories made sense, and they were really cute together. And I loved their romance a lot. This book made me laugh too. I was physically and audibly laughing in this book. Very funny. I think the jokes in this were funny, and like the humor in this was really good. Again, we had the cameos from different people from the past books in this one, which always makes me smile, always makes me feel good to see those characters. This book is a very easy read. It's not a book that you need to invest a lot of time and like energy and brain power into. You get emotionally invested, which is nice. Like, I feel like I got invested in their relationship a lot in this, and I was like rooting for them a lot, which is always great. One thing I will say that's like a little bit of a negative for me is I feel like the books are a little too short for me. I feel like I'm realizing it now that these books are pretty short. They're like, I think 300 something pages. And I feel like I want more. Like, I feel like I need a little more to understand why the characters fall in love. I want more character development. I want more scenes. I think I think it jumps too much, like in time, and we're missing a lot of like the main moments between the characters. So dare I say, Rachel Reed, I wish these books were longer. I wish they were a little bit more fleshed out. Even 100 more pages, I feel like would do them justice. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like this is for all the books in the Game Changer series so far. They're a little too short for me, but had a great time with this. I gave it a 4-star, and definitely the books are getting better for sure. The 4-star felt very, I was very confident in that. Loved their story. Can't wait to read the next book. So yeah, Common Goal by Rachel Reed was the next book. So the last book that I read for February is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And funny that I didn't even realize this, but I read 2 vampire books this month, which I don't know what that says about me, and I don't even want to know or think about what that says about me. Okay? All right. So, Serpent and the Wings of Night. For humans and vampires, the rules of survival are the same. Never trust, never yield, and always guard your heart. The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king, Oriah, carved her place in a world designed to kill her. Her only chance to becoming something more than prey is entering the Kajari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. But winning won't be easy amongst the most vicious warriors from all the 3 vampire houses. To survive, Oriah is forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. Everything about Rain is dangerous. He is a ruthless vampire, an efficient killer, killer, an enemy to her father's crown, and her greatest competition. Yet, what terrifies Araya most of all is that she finds herself oddly drawn to him. But there's no room for compassion in the Kajari. War of the House of Night brews, shattering everything that Araya thought she knew about her home, and Rain may understand her more than anyone. But their blossoming attraction could be her downfall in the kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love. The Serpent and the Wings of Night is the first book in the series, and it's a heart-wrenching romance, dark magic, and bloodthirsty intrigue. Loved it. So good. This book reminded me a lot of Powerless from Lauren Roberts, if you've read that book or have heard of that book. So she's pretty much a mortal girl that has to go into a competition full of people who have powers, and in this book they're vampires. And I love the story. I love the elements in it. I think it was really well written. Obviously I was rooting for everyone that I wanted to root for. I love their romance in this. I feel like between Rain and Araya, their slow burn made a lot of sense to me. And I think, again, like the way they choose for the FMC to like have trust issues, I think was well done. It wasn't done like an overly way, in a corny way. Like she has a reason to not trust these vampires and trust these people, and I think he does a good job of gaining her trust and earning it. And yeah, I love their little alliance. I love the side characters in this, were really well done. The world was really easy to understand as well. Lots of twists and turns, lots of things I wasn't expecting to happen that did happen. The ending I felt like was well done as well. Like it wasn't super surprising, but it also wasn't boring or like predictable. Definitely sets up for the next book as well. And I ended up giving this a 4-star, which is very, very good. I feel like that's a perfect way to end February. I literally finished this book on February 28th, which was very fitting. But I had a really great time with this. I've been like in a fantasy mood. I feel like it's really nice to go into a world and not think about like your current life and just delve into a different world and a different universe with different people. It was well done. I really, really liked it. Highly would recommend if you're into something like that. And again, I actually have the next book, so I'm going to be reading that. But yeah, Serpent and the Wings at Night, 4 stars. Alrighty, everyone. So that was all the books I read for February. I feel like we did a pretty good job this month. I feel like February we had really great books, we had some not good books, but I feel like most of all they were like 3 stars to 4 stars, which I think is pretty good. But yeah, let me know what you think, if you've read any of these, if you want to read any of these. But yeah, those are the books, and I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!